Human smuggling, the targeted population. What is human smuggling? According to the US law, the facilitation, transportation, attempted transportation, or illegal entry of a person or persons across an international border in violation of one or more country laws, either clandestinely or through deception such as the use of fraudulent documents, also known as transferring or attempting of a person across international borders illegally in a secretive way and or lying by the use of illegal documents like fake passports, using other names of people that are maybe already dead and stuff like that. Why do migrants want to migrate? These people are living in poverty, hardship. They're looking for a better opportunity. Their land, their home usually doesn't offer that. It has high crime rates. They are unable to grow in the sense of education. Education is very limited there. They're seeking asylum elsewhere. They're looking for the American dream. We are known to have the land of the free, the land of opportunity, and they're just looking for that. They're looking for a home somewhere where they can really create, and they don't want to create where they are already struggling so hard to live in, and they do not want to keep their kids here as in their homeland because it's it's a struggle to live that life. And if their kids do grow up there, they run the risk of being affiliated with gangs or ending up in debt to the gangs or anything. Life is life or death every day, and it's a struggle to even find food or even find a place to live, so they want to come to better their lives and better their opportunity at a life. Who are the smugglers? Oftentimes they are snakeheads and coyotes, which are people that you pay to be able to smuggle you in or get you illegal documents and all that stuff. The human smuggling business is a low risk, high profit business. It's very unlikely that these people are detected, arrested, and prosecuted because nobody is going to tell on them if the only people that are to tell are either dead, in debt to them, or scared of them, right? Once you pay this coyote, um, they have no interest in the migrants' well being, right? They leave them to be vulnerable to abuse, to exploitation, and oftentimes, they even give these migrants directly into the hands of human traffickers. It's kind of like a deal they have. Um, so, I mean, honestly, how trustworthy is a coyote? Have we all seen The Lion King? You can't trust them. So, the name kind of speaks for itself. And, I have someone that I know, and they told me the story of them crossing the border because they did, and how basically they gave all their belongings, everything they had, to this coyote. And, thankfully that person is here today and they are a citizen and they're okay and they're good. But you run this risk of trusting somebody with everything you have to do this favor for you, and you have no idea if they're really going to pull through. And if they do, where are they pulling you through to? Because you're set up on this whole route that they did for you. Like you're gonna go from Mexico to Texas and from Texas to Orlando, and it's like you're gonna go to this guy and this guy's gonna go to this guy. And what if one of those guys isn't who they're supposed to be? And you get stuck in exploitation or abuse and stuff like that. So this is a very risky business. What often happens while en route? Smuggled migrants who have been abandoned suffer injuries and some result even in death. A lot of them, actually. They become victims of rape, extortion, kidnapping. Those who can't pay their dues get killed just like that. And because they're smuggling these people, they get put into containers. They go into these rafts in the sea that are not sea strong enough for the sea, so they could suffocate in containers, perish in deserts, drown at the sea. And the migrants and their families stay quiet about this because they fear the smugglers and they have no confidence in their law enforcement, right? Because if they did, they could have easily stayed in their country because they would feel secure. But when you feel so insecure, even in your government, it leads to things like this. The International Organization for Migration, the IOM, it's an intergovernmental organization that provides services and advice concerning migration to governments and migrants, including internally displaced persons, refugees, and migrant workers. This includes Belize, Canada, Costa Rica, Dominica, US, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, República Dominicana, El Salvador, Trinidad, and Tobago. They created the Missing Migrants Project. The Missing Migrants Project counts migrants who have died at the external border of the states or in the process of migration towards an international destination regarding of their legal status. It only counts migrants who died during the journey to a different country, right? So it includes migrants who died by transportation accidents, shipwrecks, violent attacks, or medical complications. It includes the number of corpses found at the border crossing on basis of belongings, characteristics such as identifying documents in areas known to be a migration route, and death during migration may be identified based on the cause of death. What it does not include is deaths in immigration detention facilities, housing, or refugee camps after deportation, and deaths loosely connected to migrants' irregular status, such as labor exploitation. So yeah, it counts for what they can count for because many of these people go undocumented and unknown for. So this chart specifically shows the total fatalities by month from 2014 to 2019, and obviously 2019 only has until February. But you could see here in April how in 2015 there were 1,583 fatalities just in 1 month. That's crazy. I mean, look at these numbers. This is monthly, right? It's really sad that these aren't even like probably like a quarter of the people because they can't even document everybody. Considering the fact that many of these people go unknown for drowning at sea, how many people that drown at sea can you actually recover? Like, this is extremely sad. These are the numbers. So now this is the deaths by region, right? Um, Considering this project is on the targeted population, well, people from all areas, Africa, Americas, Asia, Europe, the Mediterranean, especially Central, Eastern, and the Middle East, they all have people trying to migrate and leave. And look at these numbers. The Mediterranean, 2016, 5,143 dead. Also, because the Mediterranean has some sea and it's claimed by many subregions, they often end up with many of the numbers because they're uncategorized deaths since they can't claim to a specific place. So the sources and regions for missing migrant projects. Official records, including from Coast Guards and medical examiners and other sources, an example, the media reports, NGOs, and surveys and interviews of migrants. Different countries have different form of records, right? Like, the US would have the Coast Guard and all that. Um, the regions these people come from would be the Mediterranean, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, Americas, and another place would be all the countries in the IOM. Many people, especially, come from El Salvador, Honduras, If there's one thing I've learned in this class is that anybody can be a victim of human trafficking and human smuggling, but definitely children are number one, right? Because if you have a child that lives in Central America, you'd want your child out, you know. I know people who have their families in Central America and they're the only ones here, right? So the targeted population would be children mainly, women as well and families, but oftentimes families prefer to send their child alone because they can't afford the whole family to a coyote. And that's their future right there. That's their seed, right? So these kids are either traveling alone or with their families. And to avoid detection from the authorities, the children move in the shadows, right? In which they're basically invisible and criminals take advantage. Because who else would be in the shadows? The criminals. Children account for 3 in every 5 victims of human trafficking in Central America and the Caribbean. They're easy to control, they're vulnerable, they're easy to convince, and physically easy to overpower. They then become victims of human trafficking and forced labor. So how I said earlier, how maybe sometimes the coyotes can just like make deals with the human traffickers, they definitely can. They could just do this with children so easily. These people, these kids don't have a say, honestly. The anti-smuggling slash forced labor laws. In Florida statute of 787.06, the crime of human trafficking is committing when a person knowingly or in reckless disregard of the facts engages in or financially benefits from transporting, soliciting, recruiting, harboring, providing, enticing, maintaining, or obtaining another person for the purpose of exploitation of that person for labor, services, or commercial sexual activity. This law is in accordance to try to uh, decrease this act. Here I have my reference page. It includes where I got all my articles from, all my charts from. Thank you so much for being a part of this, being sticking through to the end, and I hope that we can bring awareness of this to the future, the current, and everything in between. Thanks.